Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 2016 NIO EP9. Now this is not only the first Chinese vehicle on a Forza game, but it's the first Chinese all-electric vehicle on a Forza game. And yeah, only 16 of these have or will be produced, not clear on when the production has ended or is continuing, but the first 6 of which were sold to NIO executives for a cool £2.5 million each. Which is quite a lot when you consider this is not a road legal car. It's only for track use, which is accentuated by the fact that when it comes to recharging this vehicle, you have to take the batteries out. But yeah, still, it's a car that is made all out of carbon fibre, chassis and bodywork. It can do 265 miles between charges, which is pretty damn good. It has active suspension, which basically means it's changing settings hundreds of times every second. And it has a deployable rear wing that produces 5,395 pounds of downforce at 150 miles an hour, which is pretty much equivalent to a F1 car. And yeah, this is a pretty damn good looking car as well. I do really rather like the look of it. It's not too show-offy, but it's also pretty interesting to look at. I like the rear end. I like the way the brake lights are shaped, and it's got massive rear diffuser there. It's got fancy doors, but also a massive sill to climb over as well, which is, again, shows how much of a non-road car this is. And yeah, I'm not a massive fan of the interior. It is really rather Spartan, but again, it is, a track-only car, which is why it's got the kind of steering wheel of a track car. But yeah, it's still got some road settings on the go. You put it in that 12-volt setting, for instance, and it will be for road use. The 750 volt is for like the main like the suboptimal track usage, and then you put it in that 3G mode, which is basically the 1 megawatt mode, and that's for full-on track use. So yeah, but it's still got a decent amount of screens, and yeah, it's got all the information you could ask for. But yeah, bit Spartan in there. But yeah, this is obviously a semi-working prototype in a lot of ways, and yeah, as far as that's concerned, it's pretty good. But yeah, the headline figures are 1,341 horsepower and 1,091 pounds-feet of torque from its 1 megawatt lithium-ion batteries that power 4 individual motors per wheel. So it's about 335 horsepower per wheel, and each wheel has its own single-drive gearbox as well. So it's simultaneously all-wheel drive and independent wheel drive as well, because the power can be changed per wheel depending on the circumstances at hand. So yeah, it's got all of the kind of technology you'd expect on a car, and yeah, this is from a country that has only had private car ownership for the last 20 or so years. So extremely impressive car overall. But to see how impressive, we're going to get out onto the track. But firstly, we're going to drag strip it and see how quick it can go before it hits the speed camera. So let's get out there and see what it can do. So yeah, it is a little bit damp, but that's not going to really hinder this car whatsoever, because like I said, it's got all-wheel drive, but it's also going to shift the power where it's got the most grip. So let's launch it first and see what we can do before we hit the speed camera. So yeah, it's not got the fastest off-the-line launch. It's kind of set up like the Riser Techion in some ways, although it's got way more in the way of revs. As you can see, 177 or nearly 178 in fact before we hit the speed camera there, which is far faster than plenty of other vehicles that we've taken on this, that we've reviewed, for instance, and done the drag strip thing with. A little bit ironic that we've got a lot of lighting going on while we're in an electric car, but that was not planned. But yeah, still, it's a really rather quick car, even though it's not got the top of the line, off the launch performance, off the line performance like some electric cars have. But yeah, no doubt that once this car gets going, it is really rather quick and easily a rival for other electric hypercars. So let's just get into rival. So we're pretty much we're top of S2 class. Anymore would be an X class. And yeah, this car does weigh 3,858 pounds despite all of that carbon fibre, purely because of the batteries. They weigh around 1,400 pounds or so. But as you can see by the stats, it's no slouch in terms of handling or braking whatsoever. The acceleration stat there doesn't really give it the best initial view of it, but it's definitely better than that. Launch I can agree with, because it is a bit difficult to get it off the line with all of that power and torque. and the speed is reasonable as well. So let's get it around the track and see what it can do. Now granted, weighing as much as it does, you'd expect this to not be particularly good in terms of handling, but because it does have that deployable rear spoiler, and it's made out of carbon fibre, and obviously the batteries are really rather low to the, low in the chassis, it's, yeah, pretty much flawless in terms of handling as far as I'm concerned. In fact, it took me aback a bit when I did the Rivals event on the festival playlist, because I wasn't expecting it to turn in as well as it does. It's really deceptive in terms of what it can or can't do, because you look at the weight of it, you see that it's not the smallest of cars, and you expect it to be a bit of a handful, but it really isn't. And once you get above 150 miles an hour, you're going to have all of that downforce in play as well. So yeah, it's really, really rather good. Gonna let you listen to it for a little bit. It's not obviously got all that much in the way of noise being an electric car, but it does make some noise. So yeah, let you just hear that for a second. So yeah, not much noise there, obviously, being electric, but as you can see in terms of acceleration, it is pretty quick. 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds, 0 to 100 in 5.217 seconds, and it will go to a top speed of 195 miles an hour. Now granted, there are faster electric cars out there than this, either in terms of acceleration or, top speed, but I generally think that this is better in terms of handling, and once you get it above the 100 mile an hour mark or so, it does get to its top speed fairly quickly, and it crucially gets above the 150 mile an hour mark to have the maximum amount of downforce as well. So yeah, it's not all about the straight line speed with this car, which is unusual for an electric hypercar. It's more of a mix between brute force speed and handling as well. So yeah, I'm really, really impressed by this. Especially again from a country that's not had much of a private car industry for a very long time, and the fact that they've come out with this is mightily impressive. Granted, it's not road legal. It's also, yeah, not going to be a mass-produced vehicle by any means, but yeah, still impressive nonetheless, and yeah, it's definitely showing what China can do at the moment, and yeah, I really, really look forward to seeing what else they can do. We do have 3 other vehicles from them coming in the near future, either in the festival playlist or either in the car pass. One of them technically isn't a Chinese car, but it is MG, and they are now owned by a Chinese car manufacturer. But yeah, we do still have 3 more coming in the car pass. I think either 3 or 2. I know there's a minivan and a new MG, but I can't remember if there was another one in there either. But either way, still got plenty of cars to look forward to that are new to the series. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.